Let me now ask you very directly on the heels of what we've just been talking about. And you get a few bites at the apple if you're a freshman, or really if you're any player in terms of not burning the red shirt. Uh, you want the backup to get some snaps when possible, and obviously the Missouri State and Georgia Southern games figure to be games in which the backup, the number two, maybe even the number three, get snaps in the third and fourth quarter. But here's the thing. If you do have that idea in the back of your mind, if you're Lincoln Riley and you're thinking, you know what, like there might come a time when I'll just want to put in Longstreet for a couple of possessions, maybe as a change of pace. And, if the offense is working well, you probably don't mess with it. But if the offense is struggling with Maava, the idea of just giving Longstreet a possession midway through the first half, and Maava gets to watch from the sidelines so that Lincoln Riley can perhaps coach him up. You obviously can't do that endlessly if you want to save Longstreet's red shirt, which one would think would be in USC's best interests. So let's just take the first four games as a block, because those are all games that USC fully expects to win. How do you give Longstreet snaps in two of those games, or do you actually just try to limit his snaps to one game so that you have the ability to play him in three Big Ten games or Notre Dame the rest of the season? That gives you a little bit more flexibility. Any general thoughts on how Lincoln Riley either can or should juggle that part of the equation with Husan Longstreet?
I think it really depends on how Maava plays. I mean, first and foremost, USC is probably in those first few games going to want to be in a position where they're up by a lot of points before they put in Husan Longstreet, I would assume, because they obviously have the roster to do that. It's, a foregone conclusion for the first three games, seemingly, that USC is going to run away with those, and anything less than that would be a severe disappointment. So it depends on if they get out to a big lead and get out to a big lead quick. It's an interesting point, though, because I think if you want to do what you were saying and use Husan Longstreet as kind of a secret weapon in some of those more competitive games, and preserve his red shirt, like if that's what your goal is with him throughout the season, USC has a really interesting kind of advantage in having Sam Huard on their roster, I think, because, Sam Huard is not by any means an elite quarterback. He's not, expected to even really beat out Husan Longstreet for the backup role. However, if you want to use Husan Longstreet in the more important games, like you said, and preserve his red shirt, like you said, maybe you just play Sam Huard in the first three games or so, because, when USC's up by 30 plus points, it's the third quarter. You don't want Maava to get hurt, so you don't want him out there anymore. But you also don't want to use one of the games on Husan Longstreet's, kind of clock before his red shirt runs out. Just throw Sam Huard out there. I mean, he's a veteran quarterback. He's better than a lot of guys, a lot of programs, third string quarterbacks for sure. He's been around. He's been to a lot of different programs. Lincoln Riley's also been very complimentary of him, kind of threw him into the discourse with Colin Cowherd this morning and said the three of them give him really a deeper quarterback room than he's ever had. It's not like throwing Jake Jensen out there, which no shade to Jake Jensen, but, never obviously got on the field. He's a guy who came from JUCO and then obviously went on to play at an FCS school. So he's not, in a guy who's been an FBS starting quarterback before. Sam Huard is. So I just think that USC does have that unique advantage, and that might be an interesting thing that you might see these first couple of games. And I don't think that that's something that USC fans should freak out and be like, oh, is Husan Longstreet going to be another Malachi Nelson, basically, as he lost the second string job to Sam Huard? Keep that in mind, mark what Matt and I have said here on the show.
Yeah.
Sam Huard playing the first couple of weeks may not be an indication that he's won the second string quarterback job over Husan Longstreet. It may just be, we actually, Lincoln Riley thinks really highly of Husan Longstreet and wants to use him in some of the bigger games. So I think that's something that we could reasonably see, and I'm glad that USC has a quarterback like Sam Huard on their roster for that very situation.
Yeah, like it's, like if USC is leading by 30 points in the second half against Missouri State, like why put Longstreet in the game in a game that would contribute to, burning his red shirt? Why not just have Sam Huard throw some dump off passes and hand the ball off, right? He's perfectly capable of doing that. You're not asking him to win a game. You're asking him to fill reps. Los Angeles sports fans are going to get this reference that I'm about to make because it's fresh. It's still pretty recent. It's from last year with the Dodgers. Sam Huard can be the Brent Honeywell of the roster, right? The guy who pitches the 5 innings of mop-up duty, in a game whose outcome's been decided. You're not needing to use Michael Kopech or Blake Trinan, your high-end guys. You just needed some guy to finish the game, relieve strain on the rest of the roster, make sure your studs are healthy, and you go on to the next game. And Brent Honeywell, pitching in games that, the Dodgers got blown out in, he contributed massively to the effort because he set up the bullpen game and he kept the bullpen fresh for the NLCS clincher, Game 6 against the Mets. It really is the same principle here. Of course, Sam Huard is not QB2 in the room at USC, but we're operating under this premise of give Husan Longstreet meaningful snaps, not garbage time. Like take him and his talent seriously. Give him a chance to make a significant contribution to the team, but preserve the red shirt if you can. At least keep that an option as deep into the season as possible. You want Jaden Mayava to take full control of the job, but if not, you want Longstreet to be there as your plan B, but you don't want to burn the red shirt if you don't absolutely have to. So Sam Huard gets to be Brent Honeywell in the first month of the season, and that's how you can achieve all your objectives as a team. So that really fleshes it out. It's a really, Ethan, I'm so glad you hit on Sam Huard as kind of the solution to this particular problem, because it would really be great if USC enters the Illinois game with Longstreet having played no more than one game. I would say to me, one of the first 4 games, so that he does get his feet wet a little, and that he's not going into the Illinois game cold turkey without any live reps, facing any live bullets, but not any more than one game, because then you have Michigan and you have Notre Dame and you have Oregon. And if Jaden Mayava has a rocky outing, being able to play Husan Longstreet in those 3 games, the highest profile games on the schedule, you play Longstreet in one of the first 4, and then you still leave the door open for Longstreet to play in those 3 showcase games, the toughest games on USC's schedule, and you still don't burn the red shirt. So to me, Sam Huard really could have a valuable role. And again, the Brent Honeywell comparison, I think, fleshes it out very